So, you just pulled Cosmic Ghost Rider, or you're trying to learn him. Either way, congratulations, welcome to the club. Now, today we're going to teach you how to play him, alright? So, first, ending 5-hit combo with a medium attack grants you Vigilance. Vigilance allows you to counter miss. Next up, ending a 5-hit combo with a light attack grants you a power gain buff. This is definitely one of his strongest abilities. Now, charging a heavy attack grants you an Aptitude. Now, bear in mind, you only have to charge it, you don't actually have to land the heavy attack. Launching any special attack grants you a Cruelty. And then depending on what special attack you use, you get a different buff. So launching your special 2, you gain a precision buff. This is one of his strongest buffs. Launching a special 1, you gain Unblockable. And launching a special 3, you get a fury buff. This next one you do not want to trigger very often, but being struck grants you an armor up buff. Now, each of these buffs can only be gained once per cycle, and every time you gain one of these buffs, even from an outside source like a node, you inflict a corresponding judgment. So for example, a Fury will inflict the judgment of Fury, gaining Cruelty will inflict the judgment of Cruelty, etc. So whenever you inflict 5 or more judgments on the opponent, now bear in mind you can only inflict each judgment once, so you can't gain Fury twice in like the same cycle, you have to reset. But whenever you inflict 5 or more judgments, they convert into a power lock debuff, and then after that power lock expires, each judgment is converted into an armor break. So committing certain actions will grant you a buff, and then whenever you gain that buff, you inflict the corresponding judgment. Once 5 judgments are inflicted, the opponent is power locked, and then after that power lock expires, each judgment is turned into an armor break, and then you're able to start back at step 1 where you gain the buffs, inflict the judgments, they power lock, armor break. That's basically how it goes. It's a repeated cycle. Now, how you go about which order you trigger your buffs is completely up to you, because those are triggered by your actions. Now, another thing is that if you trigger one buff after another buff, its duration is actually increased by 20%. So, for example, if you're fighting Guillotine 2099 and you want more Vigilance uptime so you can ignore her miss, you can trigger your other buffs first and then trigger Vigilance so that your Vigilance lasts longer. So there's a lot of ways you can apply this. If you want your Fury to last longer, trigger your Fury last. If you want your Power Gain to last longer, trigger your Power Gain last. So this really plays into how you're able to use Cosmic Ghost Rider and all the different scenarios and rotations that you're able to use. So I hear you asking, what's the best way I can apply this? Now, there is no best way to play Cosmic Ghost Rider, but there is a good rotation that a lot of people use that I will recommend. So you're going to have to learn this new thing called heavy canceling, alright? Now, no, you're not canceling it on Twitter, you know. Alright, you basically charge your heavy because you gain the aptitude from charging your heavy. You don't actually have to land your heavy. And then you cancel it by launching your special before the heavy actually hits the opponent and makes contact. So you're seeing me try it out here. So you hold the right side of the screen to execute your heavy attack and then launch your special attack before the heavy attack hits the opponent. Now, you don't actually have to let go of the right side of the screen to launch the special. You can hold the right side of the screen and tap the special while you're holding it. So this is a very good skill. It might take a little bit of practice. Make sure you have more stun duration, stupefy mastery to extend that. It's going to take a bit of practice, but it's definitely worth doing. So this is a good rotation I recommend. It's not the only rotation, so make sure to check out my other videos if you want to see some other ones. This isn't the best one, but it is used most often. So you want to end a 5-hit combo with the medium attack to gain your Vigilance. You don't really need Vigilance for most fights, just because it only counters miss. And then you go for a 5-hit combo with a light attack ender to get your power gain, and you build up to a special 2. And make sure you do not dex before launching your special 2. So you want to parry your opponent, charge your heavy, and then launch your special 2. So you're seeing we're doing it now. It's yielding pretty big numbers. As long as you don't dex before launching your special 2, you will get that massive precision. Because remember, you can only gain each buff once from each cycle. So if you dex before launching the special 2, you're going to get that precision buff from dexing, and you're not going to get the precision buff from actually launching your special 2. We're going to go over it again really quickly here. Alright, so you end a 5-hit combo with a medium attack to gain Vigilance, and then you end a 5-hit combo with a light attack to gain your power gain. Then you build up to a special 2, parry your opponent, charge your heavy, and then launch your special 2. Rinse and repeat. It'll inflict armor break with your special 2. When judgments reset, you'll also get those armor breaks, and the crits will hit really hard. You'll have that precision after you launch your special 2, so your combos will also crit a lot. It does a ton of damage for most part. You don't usually want to do the special 3 unless the health pools are bigger. I have other rotations that incorporate the special 3 if you want to check that out, but this is the general rotation that I see being used a lot. I also have one by Munash, so make sure to check that out as well. There's other ways to do this, of course, but this is the one that the community uses the most often, and it is quite effective, so I do recommend it. It's a good rotation to start out with and learn. If you're wondering about his signature ability, it basically upgrades his power lock into a damnation, and what damnation does, it does damage over time. It heal blocks the opponent and fate seals, so it is underrated in my opinion, but definitely not needed for a majority of what you'll get out of Cosmic Ghost Rider. So if you want that utility, heal blocks and stops like Weapon X's regen, life cycle, it shuts down any buff, and it's pretty consistent. You can get the damnation off pretty consistently. So if you want that, I do recommend a Awakening gem, but he only needs 1 sig. He's kind of like Nick Fury, so if you're wondering about that, he doesn't need it, but it is useful in some cases, so definitely something to keep in mind there. Other stuff, he's immune to bleed and incinerate, and when he starts a fight against a villain, he armor breaks them, so he's a great counter for champions like Killmonger, Ghost, Mysterio, etc. His medium attacks are also energy, so he's a great counter for Korg. He won't take any Thorns damage. Doesn't work on Elektra though, because it's still a contact attack. A couple other things, he works very well with Despair, but he doesn't actually require any masteries. He's very good with the sword masteries as well. He doesn't require any synergies to be good at all, but they are useful in some cases. Another thing is you really want to learn how to reparry with Cosmic Ghost Rider. It is quite necessary for him to be able to pull off some rotations and just give you an easier time doing it. So I recommend a guide by Unofficial Kabam Mike. Great guide on how to reparry if you don't already know how. Last thing is that you don't have to stun your opponent to get the heavy cancel into a special attack onto them. If they're like stun immune, for example, you can do heavy counters. You might have seen it in this video, but you're able to counter your opponent's heavy attack with, charging your heavy and then launching your special. So that is something you're able to do. It does take a bit more practice, and it doesn't work on certain heavies because, the animations are a bit faster. But for slower heavies like Star-Lord, X-23, Old Man Logan, etc., you're definitely able to pull it off. So you're going to need a bit more practice there with the heavy canceling, but it's definitely worth doing. So yeah, that's about all I got for the TLDR version of this guide. Now I do have a 40-minute guide on the channel as well. It goes extensively into his abilities if you want to learn everything you can to be a CGR god. As well, I do have a 8,000 word written guide in the description. Both of those will be in the description. I'm constantly updating the written guide as well to reflect any new information and to leave resource links to other stuff that will help you learn more about Cosmic Ghost Rider. So if you enjoyed the video and if it was helpful, make sure to gently press that like button. It didn't do anything to you. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day. Take care, and farewell.